The world of women in the workplace in general and tech specifically is often full of double criteria. Program Director, IDEA Nigeria, Helen Anatogu, shares her experience working in a tech ecosystem.
Helen, glad to have you on Tech Trends.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
So how long have you been in tech?
I would say that I've always been in tech from a very young age. So my family has been heavily involved in tech. My siblings have worked for tech companies, run tech companies. And so I've been surrounded by technology people for most of my life. But formally, working for tech companies, I would say about 5 years now.
And so how have you been able to deal with the fact that you're a woman in tech?
I've never considered myself either male or female, just as a human being, right? So I honestly don't think about it. You know, people come to me and call out the fact that, oh, you're a woman in tech. And I'm like, actually, I don't really think about it. I think about it as being a human being in tech. Now, that's from my own personal perspective. Now, from an external perspective, so looking at the tech industry as a whole, yes, I would like to see more women in tech. So there are not a lot of people that look like me in technology. And, you know, there are a few women who've done very well in technology in Nigeria, and we hear about them all the time, but not a lot. But personally, I just get on with things. I don't think, okay, you're a woman, you're a man, you know, or there's a difference between what one should do or what one shouldn't.
You were telling me just before we came on set about the program that had over 100 female developers, graphic artists. Where are they? Why are they all hiding?
I mean, what I got from the program and having a discussion with some of them and some of the panel discussions, so this was the Google International Women's Day events, the Women Tech Makers, where I was a panelist for one of the panels looking at tech in Nigeria, tech in Africa. And one of the things that came out from the discussions was sometimes they don't feel comfortable being in a room full of men. So the tech industry is very macho. There's a lot of testosterone flowing around the tech industry. And so sometimes the women don't feel comfortable coming out and getting involved publicly in technology. And even when I look at places like the IDEA program, we have some women, but not nearly enough. And so I think one is obviously being comfortable in a space that is full of men, especially in this environment. The second thing is even cultural in terms of how we encourage women to study technology subjects, whether it's engineering, whether it's math or computer science. And one lady actually said when she was giving her talk that when she said she was going to study engineering, somebody said to her, no, an aunt or something said to her that, no, don't do engineering, go and do law or something like that, that engineering is for boys. So it's twofold. One is making the space comfortable for women to feel able to engage and to develop their skills. But the other thing as well is encouraging more girls and more women to study technical subjects.
So let's talk about the IDEA Nigeria and the program. What is the ratio of ladies and guys in the program now?
I would say we're about 20% women and 80% male, right? And that number goes down even less when you talk about the founders. So I think we only got about 2 women founders. So the other women at IDEA are work for other startups, but 2 of these women are founders, Red Bank and Easy Hire.
Startup represents a new outlook in the quest to boost SME development in Nigeria and in Africa. But availability of funds and investment is a major challenge.
Let's talk about some of the challenges that these startups are facing today. What do you think these challenges are, and what do you think are the possible solutions?
So startups in Nigeria, I think, face challenges that any business starting in Nigeria faces. Some of their challenges are a little bit higher because they're very heavily dependent on technology infrastructure to run. But from infrastructure, whether it is physical, a space to work out of, power is a challenge, connectivity is a challenge, capacity building, so making sure you have good products, access to finance, especially for technology startups, because most banks, most financial institutions want some sort of collateral, which a lot of technology startups never have, right? So they have these challenges other young and growing companies have, but also there are even a little bit more in terms of things like financing and infrastructure. So if I look, for example, at ideas, so you ask me what can be done to solve these challenges, one of the reasons why IDEA was set up was to provide a solution to some of these challenges. So when I look at how much we spend every year on infrastructure, I mean, between diesel, paying for our building, and connectivity, we spend close to 40 million naira a year. Now, a lot of startups cannot afford that. So, you know, we need more spaces like IDEA, more incubators, more spaces that people can go in and work without having to worry about, you know, carrying some of these heavy costs, especially technology companies, because of the need for the infrastructure. Right, so I would say both. So IDEA was set up in 2013 because government at the time realized that there was a gap.
The money you used to run IDEA, does it come from the government or it comes from partners as well?
The software industry. We needed to support entrepreneurs and developers in building products and building businesses. Also realized that there was a problem with infrastructure, there was a problem with capacity, there was a problem with financing. And so IDEA was set up with support from the Nigerian IT Development Agency in 2013. So I would call it more like a PPP type arrangement, whereby IDEA had a 3-year agreement with NITDA to work with us to fund the program. We started with 2 pilot centers, one in Yaba, which is where we are now, the other one in Calabar, and with a plan to grow out 4 more, to have 6 centers in each of the geopolitical zones, one in Enugu, one in the north, possibly Kano, another one in the west at Ife. In fact, we actually have an MOU with OAU to do that. Now, and under that agreement, NITDA was to fund this for 3 years. Again, we realized also that it would not be sustainable for this to be funded in perpetuity by government. But, you know, it said, you know, as a startup in itself, and given the developmental need that we had, and we still have, to be quite honest with you, it made sense that government would partner with us to do this. Unfortunately, NITDA only funded us for year 1 and hasn't followed through with funding for the next 2 years. So it has been very difficult. IDEA has not been able to build the other centers or build the other centers. So you were talking earlier on about the East. So that was to be one of our centers. Unfortunately, NITDA hasn't cooperated with us on that.
So far, have you had success story coming out of your idea in Calabar?
No, we haven't, to be quite honest with you.
Is it still functional?
We haven't. In fact, IDEA in Calabar, I would say it's functioning very minimally.
Why is that?
So IDEA in Calabar sits within the Calabar, the Tinapa Knowledge City, and it was supposed to share services with the Tinapa Knowledge City. Unfortunately, with the delay in the Knowledge City project, we've not had the benefit of the services that we were supposed to have had, things like bandwidth, for example.
Which is very critical.
It's very critical. Power is not steady. Security is not the best that it should be. We've actually had a couple of break-ins at IDEA in Calabar. There's no transportation, public transportation to Tinapa, so it's a challenge for the startups to get to Tinapa. So there have been all sorts of challenges that have really stopped us from really fully utilizing that center and delivering on the center's core purpose. I mean, we've tried to work around some of these. I mean, part of the things that we've done is taking some of our programs to the universities as opposed to expecting the students or the developers to come to us. And of course, when we have periodic boot camps, then we can say, okay, for 2 or 3 days, people come in and then they disperse again. But having it as a working incubator on a day-to-day basis has been very, very difficult.
So considering the fact that we have quite a number of youths in this country, how many more innovation centers do you think we really need?
Oh, we need a lot. We need a lot. And for different needs, right? So there are different levels of innovation. You have those who are very early, right? In which case incubation is more suited to their needs. And you have those who are looking for scale, looking for growth, in which case acceleration programs are suited. But you have those who neither want incubation nor acceleration, but they want some support, in which case you should have some advisory type services that will help them, whether put them in touch with funding, help them solve specific areas in their business that have issues, or help them with specific areas of technology. And I think that depending on what parts of the country that you are looking at, some parts will be suitable for all of it: incubation, acceleration, support, and even training. Some parts will be suitable for just incubation because they're not yet at the stage where they have companies that you can accelerate, and some part will be suitable for having acceleration programs because there is a critical mass of companies that can scale. So there are different ways that one can look at it, but I do think that we definitely need more support for startups. What form that support will come depends on the environment and the quality and the level of maturity of those startups.
Helen, I want to thank you so much for being on Tech Trends today.
Thank you very much.
It's a wrap on this edition of the show, but the conversation continues online. Do follow us on social media. Remember, you can watch the entire show on the channel's TV YouTube account or via my blog, techsmart.ng. For Tech Trends, I am Chukwemeka Agbata.